Warning: this game is rated M for mature. This game involves acts of a violent nature, sensitive topics around sexual themes, and a very annoying talking bear. Viewer discretion is advised. So, I just sold off a bunch of stuff. I'm currently at 468,000 yen, and I haven't touched a single one of the materials. So I might have went into the money grind a little bit harder than I probably should have, which, you know, is fine. And having all this money is going to be incredibly useful. Mostly because, near the end of this whole thing, like, when I have a sufficient amount of space, I'm gonna just get rid of the personas that I don't exactly need. And then when I actually... So I have all the personas I want to actually use for combat in the dungeon, like, right before I get into it. Which, you know, makes a little bit of sense. Let me just find the fashionable dishes. There we go. 3. I do actually kind of know what I'm doing here. So yeah. So after I'm done selling all this and I getting back up, let's actually get into the episode. So I'm probably not going to be able to use that footage since I was listening to a podcast at the time, but something interesting just happened with this fish. So I walked up because I was trying to get more breadcrumbs for later. How much do I actually have? 3 now? Yeah. So I have 3 breadcrumbs, and I walked up and I gave it one of my ladybugs. The fish did not like that and instead wanted a Yasu locust. And in response, it gave me this. Okay, so if it gives me one of these every single time I feed it a Yasu locust, it would be beneficial, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think I literally only get one of those 2. The 2 that I only have one of right now. Which, to me, makes a little bit of sense, but I see why people might get a little bit frustrated with getting a gemstone that, like, you can only use one of. Either way, we'll probably see more gems, like, in the future, but I kind of don't want to dwell on that right now because it's basically just for cosmetic stuff and selling back to the store, you know. Yo, senpai, what you doing here? Huh? Oh, yeah, that girl, Marie, whatever it was. How's she doing? I'm worried about her or nothing. She seems like someone that you can't leave on her own. Don't get the wrong idea. I ain't interested in a brat like her. Well, tell her I said hi and that she ought to come along next time we get together. Yeah, sure. I'm glad that Kanji took that a little bit better than I thought, to be completely honest. Huh. So you can actually, oh, she's not back. So you can actually catch bugs at night. I was trying to figure out if that was possible, and apparently it is. As you can see there, and apparently you get different bug probability spreads depending on if you're catching them during the night or the day, which I found is pretty cool. Just thought I'd show that off. Hey, so I just wanted to jump in really quickly to and that actually is a really cool looking sword. she's now got a fan of blades. It looks exactly the same. That's dumb. So Teddy. Teddy is interesting because whenever you want to kind of put on one of his costumes and he's in default, he's going to be the bear. But, you know, he has other costumes, like I was showing off, where he can actually just... I just realized what that was. Like, I can put on his working outfit, you know? And that's fine. And, like, there isn't too much of a difference between the two. It's just that the glove looks incredibly weirdly oversized. Oh yeah, you can also tell that today is actually the day I'm supposed to be in there. And that's because I just wanted to, like, run into the dungeon really quickly. But yeah. You know, several things. Chia and Yosuke are kind of low. So, like, if I ever have, like, a free day in which I just don't have anything going on, you know, I'm probably gonna go in, grind up to max with the last little bit that I have left and get the rest of the personas. I'm at like 700,000, and that's from like buying several things and selling everything. I almost hit 1 million, which I think was supposed to be an achievement, but like as long as I don't spend too much money, I should be able to actually get up to 1 million in the dungeon. As long as I don't like immediately just go ham and sell off a bunch of fuse in like a bunch of personas and then get up all my stuff and then fuse those again. You know, it's like as long as I don't do that, I should be fine when it comes to actual like dungeon stuff. But spin with it. Anyway, let's actually get into the day. I would say good morning, but apparently there's a rainstorm, like, before noon, so that's a little disconcerting. Welcome back, everybody. Forecast that it will be clear tomorrow, so it doesn't seem like you'll need to worry about the fog, not that, you know, there's anyone actually in the Midnight Channel to actually worry about. Few things. One, oh, I guess it's not today. I guess it's tomorrow. And then Monday. Let me just really quickly double check something. Sure, whatever. Yeah, whatever. So, I need to go downstairs and I need to save. No, normally I wouldn't actually, like, point this out, but I'm on the cusp of 113 hours, and that is relatively interesting to me, but also because we've got a new TV lesson. Yay. Where is it? There you go. The 5th of 10 lectures explaining the basics of Jungian psychology, the central theme of the Persona series, the nature of the shadow, which I wanted to wait until this. I wanted to talk about my thoughts on what happened recently in the dungeon until today, because I feel like it's a good time to reflect upon what exactly we saw in that dungeon.
Mr. Edogawa's TV classroom.
Hello there, everyone. It's time for Mr. Edogawa's TV classroom. Everyone loves Jungian psychology, an invitation to you that you don't know. It's already our 5th installment, The Nature of the Shadow. People are often more attached to a person with a shady personality than an outright good person. For today's lesson, I want to pick a single archetype and discuss it. The archetype is known as the Shadow, quite a charmer. Now let's begin the lecture. Solvic, Koga? Coagua. I'm not very good with French. Just to, well, maybe it's Latin, actually. Just to brush up on from the previous lecture, an archetype was a basic element of a pattern recognition within the mind. With that ability, the mind can create images. There are archetypes such as Great Mother and Wise Old Man, and the Shadow archetype conjures the image of a creepy, unfamiliar person. That doesn't exactly sound like something that gives off good vibes, does it? That's right, a Shadow is an archetype that represents the undesirable. Jung explained that the Shadow as the part of the personality one chooses not to see. In other words, the evil within a person that he or she denies. We all have the evil that we deny buried within our unconscious. That is known as the Shadow. I'm sure that you can all understand that the Shadow is hated by all, but let me explain a little bit more comparing to your daily life. Alright, then you say you're a student, and you've received a large amount of homework, and you're thinking about going out. In that situation, which do you choose, work or play? You know, I see. So in other words, to you, good is having the pleasure of going out and having fun. On the other hand, you abhor the suffering of having to do homework as evil. Even though you weren't suffering, you choose not to be. That is, you did not want to become the suffering guy you hate. The imaginary suffering person that you don't want to be is part of the representation of your Shadow. Oh, just to let you know, I meant that question as a hypothetical. I'm not actually going to draw a conclusion about your Shadow. But you see, this question has shown how you use your Shadow as the standard for interpreting your own good and evil. But there's another deeper meaning to this. I gave you two choices just now, work or play, and you picked one. And consequently, you didn't pick the other. However, it's not possible that you might have picked it. The other path was certainly a possible choice, and your Shadow is the path that you didn't take. And in other words, it is another you. The Shadow is the you that wasn't picked. The hated Shadow is under pressure by the conscious, often using the feeling that it should just disappear. But can one's Shadow truly be erased? First off, it would be very difficult considering its location inside the unconscious. Furthermore, the Shadow makes us recognize ourselves and give our value judgments more meaning. To erase one's Shadow is to weaken one's own mind. Jung realized this and advised against trying to eliminate your Shadow in favor of facing it and accepting it. And here is where we come back all the way around to Persona 5. For those of you that didn't play Persona 5, a major aspect of the story of that is when you go into someone's palace and you defeat the boss inside of there. There is a moment where you can't kill the Shadow. You have to basically just beat it into submission. And the reason is that it will cause a mind death of a person in which they physically can't do anything and it'll just become a vegetable. And in some ways, it is kind of explained of why you can't do this. Basically right here, is that if you don't have anything to bounce your ideas off of, you basically stop making decisions entirely. And that could basically mean also, like, from, like, am I going to be productive today, to what should I eat? Should I eat? To, I've just realized that I'm breathing manually. Should I just stop? You know, it's like, it's stuff like that where it's like, if you don't have a concept of how to make choices, do you just eventually just die from lack of them? And it's one of these weird aspects of Jungian psychology where it's like that kind of goes into more of like depression and like what exactly is the mental collapse of a person. But this is also what I wanted to bring up with the man, I already forgot his name. Let me just scroll back up in my notes. Mitsuo, whatever. So he had a moment where he was facing off against his shadow, and he never fully accepted it. Sorry, I had the cough. And there's a moment where you kind of realize what kind of just happened. Mitsuo is not the killer. Like, that we can be fairly certain because of how much of the game we have left. But he didn't actually accept his shadow. Why is this? It's because he's actually in sort of a psychosis. Psychosis basically meaning trapped in one's mind. And everything that he is experiencing is basically blown to a proportion, and he is over-analyzing some things, he is de-emphasizing others, and he is basically living in a fantasy world. He thinks he's the killer. I think it's pretty confident to say right now that he might have actually killed a Moroka, but that would just be it. Like, and he's living off of this, delusion that he's actually the killer. And so it's why for lack of a better term, his palace is basically a game, because he sees it all as this, as a game, effectively. And now that he's been caught, and he's basically like being held in jail, it's kind of like he had a game over almost. And we're gonna go into like what some of the thought processes of all the killers, including the actual killer, in a later episode. But this kid's story is basically over. He is arrested now. He is the best possible suspect. But the thing is that in his mind, he's won. In his mind, he's won the game, because they're gonna show his picture on television. They're going to parade him around as the killer, and that he's gonna get some sort of validation off of winning his game. And it's why a lot of news outlets nowadays don't actually release suspect information, is because people that want this sort of killer's glory, I forget what the actual phrasing, the actual word for it is, but they believe that because they're going to have their name on TV, and maybe one day be examined in a textbook about this is a person that did this, they're having this moment of being I will be remembered for my evil because I'm incapable of doing good, that sort of thing. It's a complicated matter that we're still that society is still trying to work through, even after all of these developments into law and order and the criminal justice system. We still have the people that want to do that because people are willing to sensationalize news. That's for another time, for a completely another topic. But the fact that a lot of this does kind of lump in makes me really glad that my own mental problems do not go this far. I'm sitting there having a schizophrenic delusion as I'm talking to someone through a TV screen or a computer screen, just thinking I'm having an actual conversation with them. But at the same time, I'm sitting back going, I know that I'm just having this conversation with myself in my head. You know, stuff like that. It's really comforting the more knowledge that I accrue of like how the mind works and how like mental states work, that I'm able to pull myself out of any sort of like delusion that I might have. That's the phrase. So Mitsuo is having delusions of grandeur. That is the actual like medical term, I believe. Delusions. And when he gets up and he needs help, he really does. Like, this is a real mental problem that he's going through. And you can kind of tell by like the way that he like breaks, the way that he like flickers on and off from being like incredibly happy to being completely depressed. Stuff like that is important that we like in like the mental health sphere. But the problem with society right now is that we're not actually looking at those type of things, and it's moderately frustrating for a lot of people. By accepting one's shadow, a person's mind can go further. And I feel like that is the whole point, you know, of Personas 4 and 5, is that it's, and why I probably won't play 3, because 3 is fun as a game, but it's just not as interesting when it comes to the actual characters. The story is fine, I like the characters in it, but this line right here sums up why people gravitated towards 4, and why people fundamentally adored 5. It's the idea of grabbing your pure essence, looking at it, having a mirror to look back on like who you are truly as a person, and growing from that experience. It's why I basically say that a lot of the social links in Persona 4 is someone looking at their tarot card, their reading of who they are, and they take their negative reversed side and flip it back to positive and go, I think I could deal with this, and they basically set the card down. Meanwhile, in Persona 5, I actually go through this a lot in the series, is someone gets their card that's reversed, and this reverse card is in their past, and they kind of want to move on from that, but then they kind of realize that the reversed nature of the card is who they are, and they're like, you know, I'm fine with this, I can deal with this, I can move on from this negative state in life. And those two different dynamics is what makes both games valuable, and why I'm never going to say, oh no, just like play 5 because it's a newer one, or play 4 because I enjoy it better. I think people should play both because it shows different dynamics of this sort of philosophy, and it's why I feel really bad that I don't actually like the actual SMT series, because they don't do this. They don't actually go into the psychology of the people. They have really cool stories, and they have some philosophical quandaries on what is more valuable to society. A firm hand of law, or a completely laissez-faire nature of chaos, or if a middle ground is even achievable, you know? I like those aspects of some of the SMT series, but when I think about my favorite moments in JRPGs, it's this stuff right here. And it's why I go on so many long tirades about like the things that I love about like Persona 4 and Persona 5, and why I'm doing this series at all, is because of this aspect of the game. If you accept your mental image as another version of you, it will be easy to face your shadow. Now then, looks like it's time. I'll explain a bit of the shadow of people, a group psyche as opposed to an individual at the end of this lesson. Young studies of mythology noted the existence of the shadows of myth. There were evil beings, better known as demons, From the viewpoint of Jungian psychology, the common shadow of the people took on the form of demons. You don't want to have an exorcist to get rid of the you don't have to be an exorcist to get rid of the world of demons. But after this lecture, is it a good thing to eradicate demons? Makes you think, doesn't it? Now, if I follow my schedule, the next lecture will be on the persona. That is also another version of yourself. But that's it for today. Always so great to go through those. Anyway, we don't have too much to do, which is why I felt confident about doing all that. We're going for a scooter ride today, and then we're going to be reading our book. We need to finish hyperspeed reading. By the way, good time to ride this will always be during the rain, because I think it increases the amount of familiarity you have with it, I believe. So, let's take a long ride. After getting completely lost, you stumbled across upon the road to school again. But you feel as if you're starting to get a feel for the place. You'll need to ride around a bit more to get better acquainted with the area, but you feel good.
Oh, you're home.
Yeah, I wasn't doing much today. Sorry, I really like the number 13, so the fact that I saved it right on when the hour switched over was pretty good. Let's see. Hyper speed reading. There we go. Oh, right. Before I do this whole reading thing. See you guys tomorrow. Sorry, I keep bumping my mic because it's a lot closer to my face now than normal. See you guys tomorrow. I wanted to stream yesterday as of the recording of this, but I never actually got around to doing it, and that's pretty sad. I might stream early in the morning because this is gonna render out pretty quickly. But yeah, if you wanna find a link to my streams, they're down below. Leave a like and a comment about everything that goes on, because I like hearing people's discussion about certain things, especially about the nature of man side of discussions. A lot easier to talk about than other things. Yeah, all those things. See you guys tomorrow. You begin reading this book. The book explains a method of greatly enhancing your reading speed and recall when reading books. You read on, thinking that this could be effective for all kinds of books. As you read your book, as heavy rain and thunder blocks out all distractions. Your knowledge has increased slightly from this.